Greetings, everyone. It's hard to give greetings and wish everyone a gesunter winter, a chorif bari. With a heart full of simcha with what's going on. Hashem Yerachem. Now it's over 900 killed. And the Oscars. The pain is unbearable, and we spoke about it last night. Not that it doesn't warrant repeating, but we have work to do. Last night we called on Am Yisrael, on ourselves, really, on me, to do real tshuva because something went wrong over the Yomim Noroim. But Ribor Shem is Rachum V'chanan, always gives another chance. Even when Al Pi Din, there isn't another chance because the Kfar Nigzur Gzera, but still, we know Ein Dover Moneh, and it's a tshuva. The Ram says even the Dvarim Hama'akvim es tshuva Eina Monim Osa. Right? The Ram says even when technically you don't deserve tshuva or tshuva should be very hard, it's never barred. And we have to do tshuva. So we call for tshuva. We called for Limud Sefer HaZohar for those who are Ra'ui Lakach. And as I was saying it last night, it occurred to me that Efshel Kaim Shneim, right, in Sfarim like the Nefesh Chaim and the Reishis Chochma, particularly the Reishis Chochma that I heard from my Rebbe, Rav Yaakov Weinberg, Rosh of Ner Yisrael, Zecher Tzak Kodesh and Bracha. There's not every page of Reishis Chochma adds to your Yiras Shamayim. He held it's like the book that goes straight into the heart. And that book happens to be heavily, heavily based in Zohar. You can't read 2 paragraphs. I'm not really exaggerating. You'll see today. You can't read 2 paragraphs before he builds it on Zohar. And over there, you're doing the Zohar responsibly, in the sense that he extracts these Zohars that are musardik, right, which are shovel chonefesh, and you also know where the Zohar is coming from because you see it in context of. He quotes it, in relation to what he explains to you and what he continues to explain to you after the quote from Zohar. And so there's Ezra Hashem with this. So we'll kill 2 Palestinians with 1 daf, right? So we'll have the Musar will help us do Tshuva Shlema, through an increase in Yiras Shamayim, and it has the Zohar, which has part of the Zgus of Zohar is that it gives Yiras Shamayim, aside from the fact that it cleans up the air and it. It hastens the Geula and it saves from Chevlei Mashiach that we should get out of Golos Barachamim because we are clearly in the end game. As we discussed this last night, this is Chevlei Mashiach Mamish. And all the players are in place for all the Nevuas. We are dealing with Ozbo, Gog, Al Admas Yisrael. And by the way, this aircraft carrier, Gerald R. Ford, with the crazy Democrats, which are openly Palestinian in a few weeks' time, when the world sympathy, for Israel wanes, as is being predicted even by Goyim, right-wing Goyim or pro-Israel, say, right now the whole world's behind Israel. What will be next week? Right? Hearing it from Ummah Sa'olam, that care and are thinking ahead. That aircraft carrier could be used, not in favor of the Jewish people. All right. So look, it's all the Amim are converging on Am Yisrael, Al Hashem, Al Mashiach, right? This is it, and the Sefer HaZohar is a mesugal to get us through these hard times. So we were Mekayim Shneim, with this Sefer of Reishis Chochma. I do want to quickly mention, before I forget, there's another wonderful Sefer that I could recommend from, I think it's Rav Shlomo Al-Ghazi, who I believe was either the Rit Al-Ghazi's brother or father. Right, the Al-Ghazi is very chashuv mishpacha, top rate lamda. Everyone knows the Rit Al-Ghazi on Bechiris. And by the way, I'll just say parenthetically, very quickly, that's how I know the Sefer Chemdas Hayomim that I quoted from last night, and I've been using very extensively, and it's helped me a lot in my Avodas Hashem and in my Havana, in Kavana Sa'ari, as they pertain to me. Aniyah Cotton, that Sefer explains things for a guy like me very well. And it gives Yiras Shamayim. So it's like that Tchilas Yiras Shamayim, V'sof Yiras Shamayim, that Sefer. And it's full of Dikduke Halacha. Brought it to press. the Al-Ghazis. The Al-Ghazis say they bought it off the author. The Al-Ghazis, they're big lamdon and big poiskim. You can't go wrong with the Al-Ghazis, and they thought that Sefer is Kodesh, and they bought off the author. There is a conspiracy theory, I'm saying in a positive way, that it may have been written by one of the Al-Ghazis themselves, but because of their anava, that they didn't want to show off how they're prolific in Kabbalah, they pretended that they bought the manuscript off the author. Right, so Chemda Sayam is Kulo Yerushalayim and Dikduke Halacha, and a good petach to the kavanas of the Ari for beginners. But from the Al-Ghazis, from Shlomo's guys, a sefer called Mu'ulefet Sapirim. I mean, as a matter of fact, if you're following this on StreamYard, I don't know if you are, if you aren't, but I will post it right now. I don't know if it's going to turn up on the YouTube channel. Mu'ulefet Sapirim, and it's one of the I believe it's for Shlomo Al-Ghazi. I hope you can see that. There's a way to show it on the screen. Actually, there you go. You see it, Mu'ulefet Sapirim. So now that sefer is also a likud of zohars that are musardik. Musardik, nothing, nothing that a regular Jew can't handle, conceptually speaking. And now that he teached it, he put in Lashon HaKodesh. He was like ahead of his time. Later, there were other people that did teach on Zohar, and he did it. With Shlomo Al-Ghazi, it's Zohars and it's Lashon HaKodesh, and it's. I do believe, for a Koka, you're supposed to finish the Sefer once every 30 or 40 days. It's Musar from the Zohar. It's excellent Sefer. Who knows? Maybe we'll add that to the series that we'll do also. Maybe we'll add Mu'ulefet Sapirim. You want me to teach Mu'ulefet Sapirim also? Let me know. But that's also a wonderful Sefer. The Musarei HaZoyar. So you have a kiyum of learning the Zohar, and with all its sgulis, and it's all Yerushalayim, and you're not getting in over your head. You're not doing anything irresponsible. All right. I'm kind of distracted by seeing it on the screen, so I'm going to hide it now. But Mu'ulefet Sapirim. We'll put it on the screen again right before we end. So now, without further ado, I am going to, you'll see me on camera, but what I'm going to see on my screen is not a reflection of myself, but rather from the Otzar Chochma. I was able to access a newer edition of the Reishis Chochma that, needless to say, has Tirgum Azor. We are starting from the Hakdama, and without further ado, here we go. L'shem yichud kutsho v'shchinte, lukmei shchinte me'afra, ubei nivkun migalusa barachamin. Hakdama. So it is the Hakdama of the Reishis Chochma. Noras Hayosa MS. Now, it is a well-known that it is true. Shikar Esa Kator Lavila Kimaisa. The ikar of learning Torah is to come to Lemaisa. To come to Lemaisa. Kedepirshu Maseches Brachas, as Chazal explains, Brachas, Marga Pume de Rava. It was a regular saying in the mouth of Rava. Tachlis Chochma. Tshuva Mason, the tachlis, right? The purpose of wisdom is to come to tshuva and maisim tovim. Shodam korev v'shone boy bavimo barabo misha gadol imer b'chachma minyan. Right, that a person shouldn't actually learn Torah Shebechsav and learn Torah Shebal Peh, and then after all that, kick his father and mother, kick his rebbe, whether literally or figuratively, like rebel against them, or misha gadol imer b'chachma, or just rebel against anyone who's bigger than them in wisdom. Meaning, you should like live and live by what you learn, right? And then not like learn one thing and do the opposite. Right? The beginning of wisdom is Yiras Hashem. Right, so Reishis over here is being understood as, Reishis as in Sof Maisa b'Machshava Tchila. So the Tachlis of Chochma, which is the Reishis on Machshava, right, first in thought is the ultimate goal. So Reish Chov, first in thought of Chochma, which means it's the ultimate goal, is Yiras Hashem, right, is Yiras Hashem, right, Seichel Tov l'chol Sehem, right, and this is good intelligence for all who do them, right. Lilodem lo nema elosem. Doesn't say good intelligence for those who learn Torah, but rather the ones who perform the mitzvahs of the Torah. Lo osim lishma, lo osim shloshma, and of course they add on. The Gemara adds on. In addition, he's going to explain, right? That of course I would say that you do the Torah, not just learn it. You have seichel tov if you're oset Torah, seichel tov if you're oset Torah. That's only if you're oset lishma for its own sake. But lo osim shloshma, not for those who do it shalol lishma. Right? Right. That's what the Gemara adds to this. And the Gemara concludes: anyone who does Torah mitzvahs, even if he's doing it, he's actually performing what he learns, but he's not doing lishma. Better for him to have not been created. This is Lashon Gemara. So Lashon Gemara is again, that that the tachlis of Chochma's Torah is tshuva masim tovim, right? And it says Reishis Chochma says tov chol asayim. So you have to unpack, the details of why Reishis Chochma Hashem. Seemingly, the ikar is just the end of the part. Seichel tov, the good intelligence. All that chochma is the chol asayim to those who do it. So, of course, you have to understand what the first part of the pasuk has anything to do with it, and then what the Gemara added at the end, and that's what he's going to unpack. He's going to decode and show how not a single word here is extra or derech agav. Means the Gemara should have just said they rise from the second part of pasuk. Seichel tov, the chachma, l'chol asem, those who do it, right? And leave out the part of doing it whether it's lishma or not lishma, right? What does that have to do with anything? Or how do we know that? I should say. So now he's gonna unpack all this, right? So, right, v'chazar lomar, so now the Reishis Chochma is talking. Now the Gemara went back and doubled back and said that which said la'osim, that those who perform the Torah, not just learn it, but actually do what they learn, right, is lishma. L'chorahu miyutar, right? Seemingly this is extra, right? It's adding like an extra detail, right? It's why I guess what it means extra detail. So I see in the footnotes they bring because the Maharsha, the Maharsha comment on the Gemara that of course Losim, how did the Gemara know that should be lishma? Anyone's also does it lishma. That's the real motivation to put it in action, right? The real motivation to put actions. You're doing lishma, right? But I don't think that's where he's coming from. The Reishis Chochma, Reishis Chochma just wants to know, how the Gemara knew that has to be lishma, and that's what he's going to, and that's what he's going to come on to explain. And he says, rather we see from the Gemara, sheikar Torah lishma, Torah shalom lo mekedai kaima. What you have to see, what you learn from this Gemara is that that Torah lishma is the Torah that you learn al menas l'kaim, a very big yesod over here, which would seemingly it's another pshat in Torah lishma. Everyone knows that there was this machlokas, the Balatanya, Nefesh Chaim. What is Torah lishma? Is it like lishma is a type of dveikus? Like you should feel dveikus, or it's just l'shem Torah, as Nefesh Chaim says, right? Right, over here he's saying, what Torah lishma is? Aminas lasos. That's lishma. Torah lishma is that you just want to do what the Torah says. You just want to do what the Torah says. That's called lishma. So you're lomed aminas lasos. I'm learning aminas to carry out what the Torah wants. That's lishma. So he wants to say that's what the Gemara means. That seichel tov chol sehem. And that is pshat Torah lishma. That's how he learns the Gemara, right? So enachanami, it's seichel tov chol seim as opposed to lom deim, and the Gemara says lo seim is laosim lishma. So he says learn out from the converse of that statement. I think it's the way to say it, right? Is that limud lishma is what's called to learn amanas lasos. Osim is synonymous with lishma, right? Limud amanas lasos is synonymous with lilmod lishma, right? Right, because osa shalol lishma is noach lo shelo nivra. B'kach yavar as a pasuk, right? And now to go back to how the first part of pasuk fits in. What does Reishis Chochma Yiras Hashem have to do with anything? Seemingly, the whole limit should be from Seichel Tov Chochma. L'chol Seim is Tachlis Chochma Seichel Tov Shuva Masim Tom. So what's the first part of pasuk that the Gemara brings? Reishis Chochma Yiras Hashem. So Kachi Avas pasuk. Bisman Shodem Adam Chochma Yiras Hashem. When a person, has his, before he goes, engages in the wisdom of Torah, it is preceded by Yiras Hashem. That impacts the Chochma. Having Yira first, before the Chochma, Reishis Chochma, you said that before Chochma, you have Yiras Hashem, right? So that affects the Chochma, that the Chochma will be Seichel Tov L'chol Hashem. מפני שאין כברת חוכמה אל יראת השם, שהחוכמה אדם דרכי היראה, וחושתיה חוכמה, שכל טוב וכל שם, ושתזכאי בו החוכמה, כיוון שלא אמר החוכמה, אלא סוסה כלי ליראה, והיראה הוא המייסה. Right? That since Yiras Shamayim preceded the Chochma, so now that puts an orientation that the Chochma should be, l'shem Yiras Shamayim, that preceded it. So Yiras Shamayim lays down the ground rule, the basis. And al pi Yiras Shamayim, you get Chochma to enhance the Yira. And Yira is the Lemaisa, right? Now, of course, there's a way to explain this al pi Pshat. There's a way to explain this al pi Sod. But of course, al pi Pshat, you understand, a person who learns Torah, and he doesn't care about Kiyum Torah, what's he lacking? Yiras Shamayim, obviously. These type of people that are lomed and shalom and aslasos or einen oros, they're lacking Yiras Shamayim, right? So if you want your chachma to enhance your yira, you could be sure that chachma will all be amun aslasos because you fear God. So now you're going to take His commands that you now are informed about seriously. You will do them, right? Right. But the Nefesh HaChaim actually, says this a very similar yesod to what the Reishis Chochma says, and he explains it al pi Sod, right? And he says that the kayadua, the midah of bringing something legemara peula, to lahotzi kli lemaasehu, right? To be motzi lepoal is the midah of malchus, the final of the Esther spheres, says Nefesh HaChaim. Right, it's the final of the Esther spheres, and what the midah of Malchus does is that all the other middas are energies, but they don't produce anything. They don't make a nivra. They don't make the nivra that they are ingredients to make. They don't make that nivra, or they don't make a maisa happen until they go through the midah of Malchus. The midah of Malchus, which is the kli kibul, that focal point is where the midah, interacts with the malchus and creates the nivra that's supposed to create, or alternatively makes the pu'ula that it's supposed to make, right? And kayadua, the equivalent of midas malchus in the arba yesodus is the afar, like the pasuk says, hakol haya me afar, right? Because afar is what's motzi hadavar lapoal. All right, let's say to grow something, you want to grow a plant. All right, you got to give it water, you got to give it air. The water alone won't grow it. The air alone won't grow it. These are ingredients. These are hashpaot that have to go, but you put it into the ground together with the seed, and in the ground, which is, besoid midas malchus, the other, where it's yotze lepal, right, where the seed will germinate and become something, right? So now this goes the other way also, that the ubiyada neviim adame, right, that the kaidua ruchnius doesn't look like anything, and the Navi already says biyada neviim adame, biyada neviim, which is malchus adame. That's when there's a demus. So when they say demus shor, demus ari, right, the Navi knows it doesn't look like anything, but he's being shown an image as a mashal. Where does that image come from? From the midah of malchus, then just like when the shefa comes down, so it goes through the malchus to be processed, to become that nivra, right? Or to become that event. So look, it's also bottom up. The Navi looking up through the lens of malchus, through that lens at the midas. So looking through that lens at the midas, he sees the types of shapes the midas would take on after they go through the Malchus, because he's looking at them through the lens, the Adashah, through the lens of Malchus, right? So that's where, the tsuras that the Nevi'im see, that they know it's not a tsura in the thing itself, but it's being created by the midah of Malchus, right? That, that looking through that lens, just like that koach gives that midah a tsura when the midah gets processed through it to make a nivra or to make an event. Goes the other way around. When the Navi looks through that lens at the midas and Shemaim, since he's looking through the lens of Malchus, he sees the midas mitzad, the tzura, the midah of Malchus would give them if they would pass through it. Right? And I hope this is clear. And anyone could always, email me or WhatsApp me their questions. I'll be happy to explain more. Okay, so that is saying midah of Malchus. That's called Gemar Maisa. Gemar Maisa is also the midah of Yiras Shamayim. It's the midah of Yiras Shamayim. Kaidur, the mitzvah of Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shamayim, and Yiras Shamayim is in the midah of Malchus. Right? You're Makabel Ol, you're Yore, Vein Kam Makom Laharich. That's where Yiras Shamayim comes from. That's where Emunah comes from. Also, Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shamayim, Malchus. So the midah of Gemar Maisa and the midah of Yiras Shamayim is all one, and this is said in the Nefesh HaChaim in Shar Dalet. Okay, so he's clearly alluding to this idea, right? That Ikar Torah Shema is Torah Yolamed Kedei L'Kaima, right? And how do you come to that? That you're even motivated, right, to learn Torah, Amanas Lasos, and therefore that's what's going to happen. That's not just going to be that, you wish you'll be also, but you'll do it Amanas Lasos and it'll taka happen, right? Is when it's preceded by Yira. So let's just read it again. Right? Why did they have to break it down? Losim Lishma, right? What is the, let's break it out. It's for Asiya, and then Asiya Lishma. That's being mafarish that that lishma and asiya are actually synonyms. Real asiya and lilmod amnas Torah lishma is really lilmod amnas asos. Elamder shikar Torah lishma yat Torah shalom lomei kedei l'kaima. The ikar Torah lishma is your lomei Torah amnas lasos. The kachi avos bod. How do you come to that? So this is what the pasuk is teaching. This is how you say about it. Bisman shagdimai adam lachachma yiras Hashem. When the chachma of Torah, the limit of the Chochma of Torah is preceded by a orientation, an orientation of Yiras Shamayim. That's what precedes it. So that's like your base orientation going into it. You're Yiras Shamayim oriented before you even learn the Chochma. So therefore, the Chochma is coming and being chal on top of your Yiras Shamayim to enhance your Yiras Shamayim. Right, so Titer Chochma Seichel Tov Chasem. So now there's that type of Chochma that's interacting with your Yiras Shamayim, right, is going to give Seichel Tov L'Chasem. It's going to give you a good intelligence that is going to lead to Maisa. Because you're learning the Chochma not as something separate, but rather to be chal on top of your Yiras Hashem and to enhance your Yiras Hashem. That the Chochma should not just enhance the Yira. That with Chochma now I could make my Yira more sophisticated. And now that instead of just being Yira that's Poshet, and Shitri, and then now with the Chochma I'll have Darkei Yira, have a sophisticated Yira Shamayim. So now this Chochma, because it's interacting with your Yiras Shamayim, to enhance it, this Chochma will become Seichel Tov, which is going to explain Al Pizor in the very next shtickle. It's going to become Seichel Tov Chosem. Just Gaibo Chochma, right? That first of all, Chochma will have a kiyum, and he's alluding to the Mishnah of his Kol Shiraso Chochmaso Kodemes LeChochmaso Chochmaso Miskayemes, right? The Chochma that has a kiyum is when it's chal on Yiras Shamayim, it interacts with the Yiras Shamayim, then it's Chochmaso Miskayemes. Shetiskayim b'Chochma Kem Shelo Lamad HaChochma L'Asas Klira. Now, since you learned the Chochma to make it a kli to enhance your Yira, Vayira Hu HaMaisa, and the Yira is the Maisa, like we explained, Al Pi the Nefesh HaChaim, right? And I think we explained that adequately, but you can always send me questions and we'll go back to this. But here's the thing: the one thing that hasn't been unpacked yet is is Seichel Tov. that is an amazing thing. That Dafka, the way he wants to learn is that the Chochma that's Chalan Yira, Dafka, that Chochma is called Seichel Tov. Seichel Tov. What's this term Seichel Tov? And if the Chochma is not with Yira, it's not Seichel Tov? The answer is no, it's not. And this is all decoded. The term Seichel Tov is unpacked by a Zohar. By Zohar, Parshas Reishis Amar Zelishonos, and now to understand the term Seichel Tov, that only comes when the Chochma interacts and is chal on the Yira, and the Chochma is for the sake of making the Yira sophisticated. Right? It's a kli for the Yira to be even further enhanced. Only that's called Seichel Tov. So to understand what was haste Seichel Tov, so Parshas Zohar, Parshas Reishis Amar Zelishonos. So Zohar Parshas Reishis says as follows: Rabbi Yossi Omer Seichel Tov Doi Lona Dechayev. Seichel Tov is besod the Eitz HaChayim. Eitz HaChayim. Diu Seichel Tov Lo Rakla, because it's Seichel Tov as opposed to Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra. So it's Seichel Tov. It's Sichlius, but Tov B'li Ra, as opposed to Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra. Right? That the Tov is not absolute Tov because it's also mixed with Ra. Right? The pure Seichel Tov is Eitz HaChayim. Below Ra Klal. Valdo Sharbe Ra, Iu Seichel Tov below Ra, because there's no Ra in there whatsoever, thus is Seichel Tov. Meaning Seichel Tov below Ra, as Eitz HaChayim, as opposed to the Eitz Hadas Tov Vira. Right? Where the Tov is adulterated with it, that the Tov is not absolute, leaves room for the Ra. Right? And we don't have to get into that whole discussion, about how the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, it's not the real Tov, and it's not the real Ra. Because you don't think in absolute, because the Tov leaves room for the Ra, and the Ra leaves room for the Tov. It's just big bilbulim, and it's in the second paraka of the Mar Nevuchim in Chelkav. There's a big hezber on this. There's also in the Ramban on the place, which he also he goes in the derech of the Rambam, but he says it in his own way. In Nefesh Chaim also in Shar Aleph. The Eitz Hadas Tov Ra is bilbul. It's the Tov mixed with Ra, and Ra mixed with Eitz Hadas, Das Lashon Chibur Tov Ra, and that's why it's just bilbul. Good but not absolute good, bad but not absolute bad, right? It's just everything is mixed up, and which is the seichel that we have, and that's why we need birur halacha, birurim. That's why we have all the havamiyas. We have to root out because we have to eliminate the bilbul. We have to struggle. That's what the pilpul of the Gemara, the Zohar says elsewhere, is a mishkal neged. It's a countermeasure to the Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra. It's a countermeasure to the darkness of confusion, which comes from the seichel of Das Tov V'Ra. We're not sure if we're getting it right. We think it's right, but maybe there's some Ra mixed in. Oh, this is bad. But is it really bad? Right? Is it really bad? Is there a certain side of it that's good, which generally people look for a side of good and bad to rationalize it, right? You got to root it out. You got to do birurim. But this is seichel tov, period. The intelligence that's tov b'li ra, besod what the pasuk says, chaim va'tov, hamavis v'hara. There's an absolute birur that the tov is with the chaim, like Eitz HaChayim, and the ra is with the mavis, right? That's talking about the tov that, the tov and ra have been separated, and each one put in its, the tov is reassociated. It becomes absolute good, b'li ra, and that's when the tov is associated with Chaim. And the ra is without any nitzotzes of tov in it, and that's why it's associated with Misa. Right? Chaim v'atov and mavis ra is talking about when absolute birurim, and it has to do with our days that everyone's talking about. There's no middle ground anymore. Everything's so polarized. It was foretold. This is what the Beramayim Chaim and many other svarim say. It's a pshat. Ein ben doda dorsh kulo zakai or dorsh kul chai. It doesn't mean either or. Either be kula, either dorf tzikim or dorsh. It's not the pshat. Right? The pshat is kulo zakai kulo chayev, meaning in the same door, whoever is zakai will be 100% zakai, and whoever's chayev is going to be 100% chayev. And we're moving there quickly with everyone. Everyone complained that there's no political middle anymore. Everything's polarized. Polarized is not bad. It's not good for getting along, but who needs, that's the famous word of the Kotzker. I'm sorry that I'm on a roll, but that's what happens, if you want to cover more ground in the book, just do it yourself. You could go on Reishis Chochma. I'd wager even Hebrew books must have an edition of Reishis Chochma that has Tirgum Azor. But if you're going to do this with me, this is how I do it. I'm sorry, gentlemen. You're going to have to put up with how my mind just rolls, right? So now, everyone talks about, the complaints about the polarity. Polarity is lav dafka, a bad thing. It eliminates the das tovara. The parv, is not good. Because in the parv, mitzvahs get tainted with ulterior motives, right? Mitzvahs get tainted. And in the parv, you could see good even in the worst things. Parv is not good. Keder the bei shutfei lo chamim lo karira, right? Two people are sharing a pot, a pot of a shutfim is not cold, not hot, lukewarm, but it's lukewarm. You look at it as a compromise. You also look at it as that you lost out because it's either geschmack hot or it's either geschmack cold. It's not geschmack when it's lukewarm. Think of a food that's geschmack when it's lukewarm, please. It's either geschmack hot or geschmack cold. All right. So now the birurim have to happen at the end of time, right? That and that's so you say polarity is bad for getting along, So with that, you have to get into the word of the Kotzker, right? The Kotzker says when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was going to, regarding the Chazal, that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was going to create man, so there were kitrugim, ma'anosh kitis kareno. So so in one of the lashons of Chazal, even the midas were, some were in favor of creating Adam, some were against it. So MS was against creating man because he speaks shkarim, right? And Shalom was also against creating man because he makes machlokas, right? So there are certain midas that were in favor of creating man. So Hishlech MS Arza, he broke the tie, to be machriya by the Briyasonim by Hishlech MS Arza, just threw the MS down. Right. So and then of course afterwards we want MS Me'eretz Titzmach, right? It should rise again. Okay, it's part of our mission. Eretz MS HaKadosh was Hishlech MS Arza, and we need that MS Me'eretz Titzmach. We have to still come to him, right? But the Kotzker, he was concerned with the Reisha, right? The Rebbe meant to break the tie in order to be machriya in favor of Brias Adam. So Hishlech MS Arza. If it's a matter of just breaking the tie, right? Right? So throw down Shalom. Dr. Kotzker, no, Ribosh was very smart. Because once you don't care about MS, it's easy to have Shalom also. You didn't have to throw Shalom down. Throw out MS and you could have Shalom. Because if you don't care about MS, you could have Shalom. Right? Once you don't care about MS, you could have Shalom. Right? It was obviously a sarcastic remark that the Kotzker was very renowned for, these type of sarcastic remarks, right? That, it's easy to have peace, with anybody if you don't care about truth. Yeah, sure. So, the fact that a middle ground is politically expedient and it's easier socially, and that's basically what the Kotzker's alluding to. Yeah, if you don't care about MS, it's very easy to have Shalom, right? Okay. But getting back to the point, L'Asid Lavo, we have to have absolute birurim, and we're headed there. The Democratic Party is definitely headed to being total evil, right? Already, aside from abortion and transgenderism and homosexuality and legalizing theft, right? Gabi Eretz Yisrael, and we see the squad, the left wing of Democratic Party is openly anti-Semitic also. It's only a matter of time till, the other Democrats will have to take a stand. Where do we really hold? And if they stand with Israel, because that's the morally right thing to do, they're going to have to decide if I'm in favor of what's morally correct. Then I also have to change my stances on these other things also. Either that or they'll be thrown out of the party, and the left wing will probably take over the party altogether. Hashem Yirachim. Right? It's we're heading to those days of birurim, of the tov and the ra no longer being intermingled as a result of chet eitz hadas tov ra, and we're going to reach the tov being with the chaim. Like I said, sechel tov ilu ilana dechaye. Right? So mankind has to head there eventually, for Mashiach times, and that's an explanation of the polarization that we're seeing. Right, in the world, right? Of why there's this trend of polarization, a trend of polarization, kitzoniut, right? But actually, yeah, we in our learning have to try to, be mavar the tov from the ra with biruri halacha and come to seichel tov. That's ilon dechaye. That's seichel tov below ra klal. Ad kan l'shoma, right? Right. So now look how so this is the Zohar. So you want to bring from the Zohar that Seichel Toiv. What's Pshat Seichel Toiv? So the Zohar, it's Seichel Toiv B'li Rakla. Okay. So once we have that piece of information from the Zohar HaKadosh, so now let's add it to the Gemara, right? So now if we have this, and we combine it with what we said before, it's like this. If a person, has his yira before the chachma, and that's when chachma sumis kemis, as per that Mishnah and others. That chachma now is chachma from the Eitz Chaim. It's not from the Eitz Hadas Tovara. Shu seichel tov b'lo ra. You're zeichel to be masik from the Eitz Chaim, which is seichel tov b'lo ra. Avim lo igdim ayur. But if you don't have your shemayim preceding your learning, you don't have your shemayim as as your general moral compass with which you approach the learning. As eno seichel tov b'lo ra. So that learning is tainted. It's not going to be seichel tov b'lo ra. Kinim boy bavim v'elza shelo lishma. And therefore, since it won't be seichel tov b'lo ra. So since it'll be mixed with ra, that's why you could have such a terrible thing that a person learns kabeh savicha v'esimecha, and they'll learn all the sugyas in kiddushin. Right, Daf Yomi just went through kiddushin, still there, right? But we went through the sugyas of kibud aveim, right? Right, so it's always over there in the end, Daf Chavtes, Daf Lamed, Daf Lamed over there, thereabouts, right? So now you learn, I think it's there, right? So you go through those sugyas, and then after all you learned, you could march, be bayit b'avivulimo, because that Torah that he learned wasn't tov b'li ra, wasn't the pure adulterated goodness of seichel tov. It was seichel, with mixed with ra, and from that ra that's mixed in. That's what could cause it to be bayit b'avivulimo rachmatzav v'oseh shelo lishma, and that's what makes it shelo lishma v'umurkav mitov v'ra. Because now you're not a pure breed. You're compounded of good and evil. That's why the Gemara ends off, with that terrible thing. Because the Rebbe wants to create toiv. He doesn't want to create ra. And you are now stuck in this twilight zone of tov with ra. No, it'd been better if you'd not been created, right? Because of how there's so much ra stuck in you. Right, and the Rebbe Shalom, wants you to be 100% tov. Now, what Menochlo Shalom Nivra means, if you're going to stay that way. Of course, it means if you, God forbid, you don't do tshuva, or you want to say another pshat. Menochlo Shalom, it'll be a lot more comfortable if you have not been created, because you're going to have to endure birurim, koshim, v'morim to get the ra out of you, which is all the yisurim of Chavlei Mashiach. As the Ramchal says in the Adabarim that we quoted last night, Yisurei Chavlei Mashiach are domet to chibud hakever. You know what chibud hakever is? What the Bai does to get all the ra out, all the ra that's stuck in the guf from all the chatoim. So the chibud hakever smash it out, it gets smelted out in the decomposition, and that's why we're told it hurts. And Chavlei Mashiach is for the living, what chibud hakever is for the deceased, and it's very uncomfortable. So nochlo shlo nivra, right? A person, it's going to have been more. It's very uncomfortable, right? That you would have wished it hurts so much. You wish you weren't born, right? As opposed to if a person has seichel tov, it's nochlo shenivra, because he's tov b'li ra, and there's nothing unpleasant about his existence. He doesn't have to go through yisurim, koshim, v'morim to get to his tikkun. Yeah. All right, so but he's not finished, building his case, building the picture, I should say, building the picture he wants to build. Now this you can understand this better with throwing in another Gemara, right? In from Yuma and Parak Bolo Kohen, right? So Amar Rabbi Yonason, in our gears to the Gemara, the footnote says, Amar Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachman, Amar Rabbi Yonason. Right. So Maidich, what was it say in the possibility? That was a mechir biat ksil. There's like money in the hands of ksil liknos chachma, right? So he has resources. The fool has his hand resources to acquire wisdom, but he doesn't have a heart. He doesn't have the intelligence. He's missing the intelligence to really process it. So he has the ability to get it, but it's chaval. He doesn't have the heart to contain it. So what's that talking about? Woe to those who hate the Talmidei Chachamim, which is a code word for the bad Talmidei Chachamim. They didn't want to say anything bad about Talmid Chacham openly. So the Lashon, the Lashon Saginor. So about Talmidei Chacham that are bad, right? They call them Sonem Talmidei Chacham. Shoskim bat Torah ve'em b'hem yirah shemayim. They're also don't have yirah shemayim, right? So there's that. So that means, the Chochma is obviously Torah. V'leiv ayin, lacking the heart, is lacking yirah shemayim. The yirah shemayim is the heart that holds the Torah, the heart that the Torah is supposed to go in, the heart that the Torah is supposed to build up. Right? Machros Rav Alexandri, in our Lashon, he speaks in front of that the Lashon in our Gemara is Rabbi Yanai. He announced, Chavad, let's say Darta, well, the person doesn't have a place to live, Vitar Darta of it, but he made a entranceway for his dwelling. He doesn't have an apartment. The person doesn't have an apartment, but he'll build a doorway, to an empty lot, that he doesn't even own. He has no place to live, right? He doesn't even have a chotzer, but he built it. So the guy doesn't have a darta, doesn't have a place to live, but he makes a doorway to the, to that space, right? That he doesn't really own, doesn't really have. So he made a doorway to nothing. Right? So Amar, Lu Rava Rabbanon, and so Rava said to the Rabbanon, I'm begging you. The low tertu tarti Gehenna, don't inherit Gehenna doubly. Right, that's the Gemara. Akal Sham, that's the Gemara. So it ends off with Rava saying to the Rabbanon, I'm begging you, don't inherit two Gehennims, right? Two hells. Uperish Rashi. So Rashi explains Darta Chos Darta is a lot. Tarla Darta, he doesn't have the lot. He doesn't even own a lot. But he makes a gate to a lot. Because Torah, as Rashi explains, is only a gateway to come to Yerushalayim. Torah is to bring you to Yerushalayim. So of course that's why you have to have Yerushalayim first, because that's to set up your orientation, because that's where you're headed. Right? So you have to have the goal in mind. So that's why you have to have your Sof Maisa, Machshav Tchil, like we said a few minutes ago. Right? So if the Tachas of Torah is Yerushalayim, so that's why it has to be Reishis HaMachshava, because you have to have your Tachlis first in thought. So Torah again, what's the two Gehenim? You're getting two Gehenims, the way Rashi explains it. I understand that he's quoting from Rashi. Right, that you have two Gehenims. One is that your world is a living hell, because if you really are begetter Talmid Chacham, sadly we don't people don't know what to do. The guy was really a Talmid Chacham, and he really was Konet Torah on a competitive level with what others that are called Talmid Chacham. So he was Makayim Pas from El Tocha, my Mesur and Tishnev, or it's Tishan, Ubat Torah to Omel. Right, he might sacrifice Olam Hazeh if he attained that level of excellence and proficiency to be called a Talmid Chacham. But you're not going to keep the Torah. You're going to get Gehenim when you die. And in your lifetime, you didn't enjoy it. You came up, as we say, Karech Mikan Mikan, bold on both sides of the head, because you didn't have not Olam Hazeh, not Olam Haba. You didn't have Olam Hazeh, because if you are really Talmid Chacham, we're going to talk about this in another shmooze I want to give tonight, another follow-up shmooze about the matzav. Right? So now think about it. You didn't get Torah in this world. Rather, you didn't get Hana in this world because you were Yagea Batera, if you really are called a Talmid Chacham, right? But since you only did it because you wanted the wisdom. You didn't do it on Manas La. So when you die, you're going to go to get him because you weren't Makayim. Agal Shalom. All right. So now he's not interested in the Tarte Gehenim. He's interested in this relationship set up that the Torah is the gateway, and the Chotzer that you don't own, right, is the Yerushalayim. If you're dealing with a person that is lo mei Torah without Yerushalayim, but Tanshkol Yerushalayim Chotzer, Voikar VaChochma Knisala. So now to understand, right, why Yerushalayim is the Chotzer, that's just the courtyard. Right, and that's not I meant that is the ikar. I mean that is not I meant that is the courtyard. That is the main thing. That's the lot, the lot, which is the property, right? And the wisdom of Torah is just the entrance to it. Nearly, Shua Mashivu, members of Mzechshal's Perak Shem Shonam. Right, so I think the only way to understand this is to go to another time where this Gemara is actually quoted. But in a different, but connected to other memras. Machros Rabbi Yanai, Chabad let's say Tara V'Tara same is Machros Rabbi Yanai, which is also our Girsa that we mentioned before. Right, it was Rabbi Yanai, not Rav Alexandroi, but it seems going his Gemara in Mesach Shas was named Rabbi Yanai. Same Gemara, Chabad let's say Tara. He doesn't have a lot, he doesn't have a chotzer, but he makes a gateway to the chotzer. But in Gemara Shas, it's connected to a different Gemara. The next Gemara is Amar Rav Yehuda. Says Allah Bara Kashku was all about Kadesh Yiru Milfanav. Riboshim created the world that we should have Yerushalayim from him. Shenemar Velkim Asa, he created things, Shiru Milfanav. Akla Shalom. And I'm telling you that it's not a separate memra. The statement of Rabbi Yehuda was mentioned after the statement of Rabbi Yanai that we also had in the Gemara and Yuma, right? Because it's necessary to be mafarish this idea that that Yerushalayim is called the Chotzer and the Torah is called the gateway to the Chotzer. Ubir Dvarav, right? Now I'm going to explain it all, more Yesodis, al Pisod, to make sense out of all of this and build a complete picture. Shenoda Shikra Elam Hu Yisrael, Shebishvil Nivra Elam, Kaidu a Bereshis, Bishvil Yisrael Shniku Reishis. Right, Reishis Mamish, this week's parasha. Right, the whole world was created for Klal Yisrael. Or you saw him Iker Kiyum, and Am Yisrael is the whole reason why the world has Kiyum. The world only exists because of Klal Yisrael. Because of Am Yisrael, the world exists. We are the Nakuda of Reishis from which the whole world branches out from. Without Klal Yisrael, the world ceases to exist. We are the Nakuda of Reishis from which the whole world branches out from. So Shiv Shalom B'lo Yisrael, as another Gemara says, the world can't exist. Which is talking about the Golus. I spread you out like the four winds of the world. So that's the Chorah referring to the Golus, but Chazal put an interesting spin on it. Keshem Shiv Shalom B'lo Rucha, it's just like the world can't exist without wind. Kachiv Shalom B'lo Yisrael, the world can't exist without Klal Yisrael. The world needs Am Yisrael just like the world needs wind. Not for the windmills, wind, for the regular ecological system. The windmills don't make enough electricity and they kill the whales. Okay, fine. And Chazal say elsewhere, even though the Torah is also courageous, but if which one was created for which? Torah Nivreis B'Shul Yisrael. Because Am Yisrael needs the Torah to be Makir HaKadosh Baruch Hu in order to have Yira from him. Because Joseph Reis on Rishim Bayochayo Imer Ki Mea Eitz Yemei Ami. Like the Navi says, Am Yisrael will last as long as trees last. Trees could last, centuries and centuries. They say even thousands of years. Ki Mea Eitz Yemei Ami. Right. So now, aside from I have to just plug in my. Give me eight Ami, you may Ami. Am Yisrael will last, Hashem's nation will last like a tree lasts, but there's it's deeper than just what the pshat, but ain't eitz el Torah shnemar eitz chaim l'machazikim ba, right, the eitz is referring to Torah shnemar eitz chaim l'machazikim ba, v'advarim kal v'chaymer. Think about it, it's a kal v'chaymer Torah shelo universal l'chvarim shisarei kamis l'amim. If Torah was created for Am Yisrael. So me nivra b'shvil me, haTorah nivreis b'shvil Yisrael. So even they're both called Reishis, but which one is for which? So the Torah is before Yisrael, and the Torah is la'adu omei olamim. It's nitzchias, and it's for Klal Yisrael. right? So kal v'chomer la tzadikim shebshulam nivra olam hagashol. So so kal v'chomer for tzadikim for whom the whole world was created. So if the Torah, which was created for the tzadikim last over kal v'chomer tzadikim, who the Torah is for, and for which the whole world was created. Imkain nafkamiyah. So if so, we learn from here. We take out from here. Shekom mitzvah ikar hu Yisrael. The ikar of the mitzvahs of the world is Klal Yisrael. And we got the Torah. Why? Because with the Torah we could, know Hashem and therefore properly fear Him. Yiras harememus, right? But of course, right? The etzem briasam elkim also shir milfanav, because you could get Yiras Shamayim also by looking at the bria, like the Rambam writes in the very first halacha of the second parak of actually it's the second halacha of the second parak of Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah. Ketzia derech la'avosu also sees bonim b'maisav adivrav anifloim v'agdolim. Take a look at the bria and you're blown away. And first you're immediately oihev, and then shemizbonein machashiv b'osam drum. You think even deeper. Miyadu nirtal achorav. The deeper understanding after you're oihev, when you see the chochma, you go deeper. Miyadu nirtal achorav, and pachad falls on him. Right, so so we could come to Yiras Shamayim through Limud Torah, and we could come through Yiras Shamayim through Elkim Asa Shulchan by looking at my Reishis. All right, and now with this we go to another mimer of the Zohar. The Raya Mehimna is a part of Zohar that was written with the Hashra'ah, right? The influence of Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama. So it's called Raya Mehimna, faithful shepherd, as Moshe Rabbeinu was, right? So the Raya Mehimna in Parshas, and we have every part. It's generally the Raya Mehimna generally talks about Tamei Mitzvah, right? So now in Raya Mehimna in Parshas Bo, it says, indeed, so there's also a shtickle Zohar. It's Raya Mehimna is a chibur that's one of the chiburim that the Zohar is weaved out of. Shikar Briyasom begin to ishtamodin lay. The ikar of Briyasom is that we should know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Imkena yirashu yerei me'abore shebarakol ikar chotzer. So the yira which you fear God that created everything, you're blown away, you're in awe of Him. For the God that created everything, that's the ikar chotzer. So now yira is the tachlis. Right? That's the whole reason why the world was created. That's the whole reason why we got the Torah. The Torah is just the hechetimtza, right? It teaches us how to get into, how to come to Yira. So that means the Chochma is the gateway, and the Chotzer, which is the destination, and the Ikar, is the Yira, right? So the Chochma is the Shar, and the Yira is the Chotzer. So it comes out comes out that since man was not created except for the purpose of fearing God, and that's Ikra of Chochma. Ikra of Chochma is to take us to Yiras Shamayim. That through Torah, lo habur yirei chet, v'lo amar etz chosid, right? But referring to you don't have real Yiras Shamayim without Torah. Torah makes you know the Ribbon Shalom, and then you know Him, you're in awe of Him, right? And you understand His godless, and you're mevatel yourself to Him, right? Right. So okay, so that's the Chacham. I can explain. And therefore, if you do the opposite of that, better you should have not been created, right? Because you're going against the tachlis of what you were created for. So if Shalol Lishma, right? So, over there, we said an earlier pshat, right? Shalol Lishma means you have Ra mixed in, and it's going to be very uncomfortable. Noach Lashon been more comfortable, not been great, because you're birurim, and that pshat that I said is MS, right? But over there, I neglected to mention, I'm saying it here now, that, he's saying another pshat, right? if Shalol Lishma is because of a lack of Yiras Shamayim, that's what causes that Tarovas of Ra. Shalol Lishma, which causes the Tarovas of Ra. Look at the cause of the Tarovas of Ra. The cause of the Tarovas of Ra is lack of Yiras Shamayim. Yiras Shamayim is the reason why you were created, right? So you are in this state that you have a Tarovas of Ra in you for lack of Yiras Shamayim. Lack of Yiras Shamayim is anti the reason why you were created, and that's why Noach lo shelo nivra. Right? You're going against the covenant of the Rebbe Shalom that you were created to fear God. And why did you learn Shalom Lishma and therefore come to a Tarah V'Savra? For a lack of Yerushalayim, which is the opposite of the kavanah of what you were created for. It comes out you were created for naught. The ikr of being oisik in chokhmah was for naught. And it's better for you to not exist because you are not attaining the usefulness that you were supposed to attain of being a Yorei Shamayim. We'll do a little bit more. So now another medrash, another source in Parsha Zosa Bracha, the Parsha we just read, right? That the Ikr of Limud Torah is to Almanas Lasos, that to come to the Maisa consummate. Vizel Lashono, this is what the medrash says. Amar Rabbi Lazar, said Rabbi Lazar, Ezu Bracha Sheberach Moshe B'Torah Tchila. So like Vizosa Bracha, right, is obviously the bracha la'achar. It's the end of the Torah. So it's like Asher Nasalon Torah's emes. Right? What was the bracha Moshe made at the beginning of the Torah? Vizosa bracha is the bracha besofa Torah. What was the bracha that Berach Moshe b'Torah betchila? Baruch atah Hashem Kevacham Asher Bachar b'Torah hazos. The Kidsha, of course, who chose this Torah, and he sanctified Virotza ba'oseha, and he wanted those who keep it. Right? Who do it. V'lomar Bogan doesn't say those who are on it. V'lomar Bogan, those who think about it. Ela ba'oseha be'elu shem oisim es hadivrei Torah. Adam oimer lamati chochma lo marati Torah ma'aseh shamani. Right. So if a person says, I learned chochma, but I didn't learn Torah. Right. Right, so the way I say the Mefarshim over there, I say that Lamadati Torah, I could learn biology, chemistry, and physics, but I can't. As there are certain chachmas I could learn, but Torah is too hard for me. A lot of people say that, right? They're good at their secular studies or at their professional studies. I can't learn Torah. I can't. That's the way I see in the footnotes. He brings in Mefarshim to learn this. Is that, brother, I can learn these chachmas, but I can't learn Torah. How am I going to do it? I'm not going to so Torah davar echad kalu. Kol mishyosei v'oseh divrei Torah Torah belibo. All chachma and all Torah is all very easy if anyone who fears me and does whatever Torah he knows. Whatever he knows, he does. Whatever he knows, he does. Torah belibo. He will be zoicha, that you have a big heart, big intelligence to contain all chachma and all Torah. Minayin, as it says. Minayin, how do we know? Shenemar, as it says, Reishis Chochma Yashem, Seichel Tov L'chol Haseyem. Right? So Reishis Chochma, you want Chochma? First Yiras Hashem. Then you get Seichel Tov L'chol Haseyem. Start with Yiras Shemayim, you get Chochma, right? And you get Seichel Tov to do it, L'chol Haseyem, right? And Yiras Hashem Tahora Omedes Law, Yiras Hashem Hi Chochma V'Gomer Adkan L'shono. So Yiras Hashem is mamish, enables, to understand Torah, understand everything. Anyone who's a Yiras Shemayim Bemis is Zocha to Chochma, not just Stam Chochma, but Chochma it's Seichel Tov, right? But of course, that's all fits, because the Yiras Shemayim came first, and that's why it's Seichel Tov, and that's why it will be L'chol Sehem, because if you did it Mitoch Yira, you surely did it Almanas Lasos, which is what we call Lishma in his lexicon. All right. Oh, but Mizbar Rabba, Parsha gives also blue b'shemen. Ator shicha live lo b'masim tovim. Getin yofet al torim derech eretz. He gives them mishkachson. Have lemincha. She also nachas ruach liotzer. Zman shalom osara vu bal maistom shomer atzum minachet akal shono. So now there's another lashon in Midbar Rabba that blue b'shemen is referring to Torah. You have to Torah to be mixed with oil. You have to mix it with good deeds, and therefore, and this medrash, which was written after the Mishnah, understands the memra of Yov Todam Derech that Derech is kipshuto, being a mensch, doing maisim tovim and midas tovas, and that's the mincha. Then so b'lulav b'Hashem the mincha. Then it gives nachas to Hashem when he's oisik b'talmud Torah and he's a baal maisim tovim. And Shomer Atzum and Ached Akal Shano. Oh, Chom Parsha and also Viter and Bamidbar Rabba in the next medrash. Next Chelik Parsha Yodal. Parachot ben Bakar Alchad Kevs Chol ben Shnoso LaOila. Right, so right? So Shlosh B'nei Ola Elulama, connected Shlosh Ksar Shlosh Yisrael. Also, Keser Torah, Keser Gazmal. So Parachad, Ayachad, Keves Echad are connected the three Ksarim. These three oils are connected the three Ksarim of Keser Torah, Keser Kumra, Keser Malchus. Keser Torah is ours. So now, how does that play out in the Keli base of Mikdash? Keser Torah is the orange. Because of Zerzov, it has a crown, right? Keser Kumra Zem is Bachzov. Now the golden Mizbech, Mizbach HaTorah is connected Keser Kumra, because of Vasisol Zerzov Soviv. It also has, a golden Zer, which is like a crown. Keser Malchus, Zah Shulchan. The Shulchan is called Keser Malchus. Because of Vasisol Zerzov, it also has Zerzov Soviv. Sirzim Chatos, but the one Seir Izim for Chatos, connected Shem Tov. That's connected having a good name, which is, what is Shem Tov? Hu HaMaisa. Shem Tov is the Maisa. You get a Shem Tov if you're a Baal Maisim Tovim. That's your Shem Tov. A Baal Maisim Tovim. Gemara Tanina, like we learned, this matter was also written after the Mishnah Sinovus. Gemara Tanina, like we looked at the Mishnah, Law Medrash Ikar Ala Maisa. Medrash is not the Ikar is the Maisa. If you have Maisa, who are Machapra Adam? Okay, True Maisim Tovim, Ketrus Peronius, right? It's the Maisa that's Machaper on yourself, on anything bad you did, as the another mission of it says. Tshuva and Maisim Tovim. So Tshuva, of course, is Machaper, but Maisim Tovim also, right? My daughter, Ketrus and Farapurnis, they're a shield to guard you from Puranius. But also Keser Shem Tov, who connected the menorah. Now Keser Shem Tov, all the way is connected the menorah. Kaim Ashor, Kiner Mitzvah Torah or. Shem Tov is connected the menorah, which is Ner Mitzvah Torah. Lamed Kreis Torah or Shemiras Adam Ma Ya'aseh. Why is Torah called light? Because it enlightens the person what to do. Maisa. Vishator Mazaron Kesel Yatzer Rotzon Lamokom. Because Schara Talmud Godov Maisa Yosef Mena Eiseh. HaMaaseh Yosef Mena Eiseh Shemar Vaya Maaseh Hatzdaka Shalom Vavras Hatzdaka Hashka Vetachat Olam. Right. So now the Torah is right. That's why we say Gedola Talmud. Talmud is Godol Mevil De Maisa. What makes Talmud so big is that it's Mevil De Maisa. So the Ikra of Torah is the Maisa. That's why Talmud is Godol, because Mevil De Maisa and the Medrash Zog Godol Maaseh. If I make other people do good, I'm even bigger than if I just do good alone. If I'm a Maaseh, as Yosef Mena Oseh, and learns off of his pasuk, HaMaaseh Tzedakah Shalom, V'Nazor Hashke Vetach Ad Olam, Ad Kan L'Shono. V'Nazor Mvor Malas HaMaisu V'Sodo. So now this is the Chazal that we just quoted, explains the tremendous matter of just doing things l'maisa and the sod of why this is true. Also, she connected Keser Shem Tov, being a Baal Ma'asim Tovim is Keser Shem Tov. That's the highest Keser. Keser Shem Tov Ola Gabem. Remember, she Keser Shem Tov Ola Gabem, right? As we said, the mission officer we just quoted. Keser Shem Tov Ola Gabem. Sheshum Keser B'Shosh Sarman is crying on the crime Keser Aydei Shem Tov. Right. The truth is that if Keser Shem Tov Ola Gabem, he's saying an interesting chap. That means Keser Shem Tov is the Keser of the other three Ksarim. That means it really is the Keser of the Ksarim. That if you would have a coin that does bad stuff or Tana does bad, you wouldn't say he has a Keser Kahuna or because he's lacking there's no shaykhs to the Mokum HaKeser, which is the Mokum of Keser Shem Tov. Right? Right? Sheshum Keser Shok Ksarim and the crime Keser Al Shem Tov. They're only fully called a Keser. You can imagine, you can say a Kohen has Keser Kuna if he does bad things. He has no Shaykhus to Maisim Tovim, or a Melech has the Keser of Malchus if he does Maisim Roim. So just like the Keser of Ola Gabem, Keser Tov is the Keser of the Ksarim. To say he has a Keser Torah, he has something above. That means he has Epis of Shaykhus to the Keser Shem Tov also. Something me'ain the Keser Shem Tov. Because a guy, a mouth that would do bad, you wouldn't say he's Zocher the Keser Malchus. A coin that does bad, you wouldn't say he's Zocher the Keser Kuna. A Tamakachim that does Maisim wrong, you wouldn't say he has Keser Torah. Right? So everyone has to have a little bit of the Maisim Tovim to be called that they have their Keser. Right? Because that's what Keser Shem Tov. It's like the Keser of the Ksarim. You have to have Epis Shaychus to the Keser Shem Tov that's over you to say that you have a Keser. Right? Shimlon, as he goes on to say, Shimlon Nagu Akoin Van Melech Vosik Bator Karoi and Kisram Keser. Yala Dasi would call someone, right? That he has Keser Torah if he does Maisim Roim, or he has Keser Kunaf, he does Maisim Roim, or Keser Machos, he does Maisim Roim. So you have to have Epis Shaychus. So if Keser Shem Tov Ola Gabim, it's the Keser of the Ksarim. So to say you have your Keser, you have to have Epis, you're saying on top of you. You have to have Epis Shaychus to the Keser Shem Tov that's on top of you. So you have to at least, be at least some Shaychus to Maisim Tovim. Right? Nimtza Shikra Machtil Torah Shikra Keser Hu Hashem Tov Shu Amaisa. Right? So the Ikar Keser Torah is that has Epis Shaychus to the Keser Shem Tov. Right? It's the Keser Haksarim. So the Keser has to have a Shaychus to the Shem Tov, which is the Maisa. So but that's one thing. That it's you need Maisim Tovim for any one of the Ksarim. You need some Maisim Tov, a shtick of the Keser Shem Tov to even have your Keser Torah, your Keser Hud, Keser Malchus. Right? That's Mitzad Maila. There's also how Mitzad, how it's Mechaper. Because Torah, right, is there to teach you. Torah is there to teach you how to do tshuva, to be mechaper on your avonos. Didn't call kim, and so kilukara, but that's only Torah. That's amanas lasos. The Torah will teach you what to do, to get back in line, get back with the program. But getting back with the program is only if it's amanas lasos. Then you're getting back into the program, right? But if you learn and you're not mekayim what you learned, it's as if you didn't learn. All right. So I'm going to do one more Zohar and leave, next Zohar, for tomorrow. We're going to do one more Zohar on this. We should end. We say we're doing this because we want to do some Zohar. Because about Chassid Baal Chovos HaLevavos, Ke'etro Yotzu Ipiru Ki Maseru. It's like the Chovos HaLevavos says in Shar Tshuva. Right, that tshuva is not what comes out of the mouth. Tshuva is what you do. Excuse me. Getting sick from agony and sleep disorder from everything that's going on. So, the concentration of Shar Tshuva over there, the Chovos HaLevavos gave us a few conditions, but the yesod is tshuva is what you do, not what you say. Tshuva masim tovim. That's why it's tshuva umasim tovim. It's not just tshuva or mastovim. Tshuva, which is maisim tovim, is the way he wants to suggest. The ikar ravash ikar Torah tshuva umasod. Ikar Torah is tshuva and masim tovim. So I want to do one more Zohar because one of the reasons why we're doing this is for all the Zohar that's in here. Vo b'masha kesed Torah kesed shelo keneged haminar shiner mitzvah. Right. So now what was alluded to, that Kesser, listen to what the Medrash said. The Medrash said, Kesser Shem Tov is connected the menorah, which is connected Torah, Kiner Mitzvah Torah or, but the Medrash also said Kesser Shem Tov is connected the Maisa, right? In the Medrash that we learned just a couple of minutes ago. So it said Kesser Shem Tov is the Maisa. Kesser Shem Tov is alluded to in the menorah, and the menorah is connected Torah, Kiner Mitzvah Torah or. Right? So to understand this deeper, to understand the interdependence between Torah and Maisa and Torah. The two are interdependent. As in Kesser Shem Tov is the Maisa, and Kesser Shem Tov is connected or Torah, and they are one and the same. Torah needs Maisa, and Maisa needs the Torah, and this is explained in the Zohar and Parshas Truma, Zela Shoinoi. Pasuk Rabbi Abba V'Amar. Rabbi Abba opened up and said, "Kiner mitzvah Torah or derechai tochos misor." Right, that's the whole pasuk in Mishlei. For a candle is a mitzvah, and Torah is light, and the way of life is rebuke of musar. Kiner mitzvah zok the Zohar. Kiner mitzvah kol man dishtaro b'ayam abinum pikun de'raisa. Anyone who's mishtaro in this world, in these mitzvahs of the Torah. It started kamei b'chol pikuda chatra anorle bahu alma. So it's arranged. Every mitzvah becomes arranged. Every mitzvah is mekayim becomes arranged as a candle to give him light in that world. Right, the light of olam haba. Right, is from the mitzvahs that a person did. The mitzvahs become candles set up to light up his olam haba, to illuminate for him in that world. Right, the Torah are, but Torah is light. But Torah or is because only one who's Isaac in Torah is zocha to the light that lights the candle. Right, every mitzvah is a candle. A candle needs to be lit. Right, so the candle gives light after it's lit. What lights the candle The Torah. So the Torah is the or that's madlik the ner. And Nefesh Chaim has long drushes on this Zohar, and this concept in Shar Dalit, right, of how mitzvahs are carriers of the light of the Torah, but they're carriers, they're a kli. They're a kli to hold the or. So there's no better kli to hold the or Torah than a mitzvah, but you need the Torah, because a Torah, doing mitzvahs with no srach Torah is like having a candle that's unlit. Torah, but anyone's Isaac Torah is zochet to the light that the candle is lit from. A candle without light is nothing. But also the other way around, light without a candle, there's no kli to hold the light. The light will immediately disappear. What keeps the light anchored and ongoing is the ner. So they need each other. The kli and the or need each other for revelation, for us, right? You need the or because the kli itself has no light, right? But to have the or without the kli, so the or will disappear. You need the kli. Yeah, you need the kli for the or to be chalon, right? So it comes out the kula da, so everything needs each other. Mitzvahs, which are meisim, need the Torah, and Torah needs mitzvahs. It's a cool you need good, you need the good deeds, which are mitzvahs, to set up the candle. And you have to be to create the light that lights the candle. Man, this asik babe, how fortunate is he who is Isaac in both, in the light and in the candle, in the Torah and in the mitzvahs. He's going to bring another Zohar to crank it up even more on a deeper level. But I'm leaving that for tomorrow. If Rosh should help, the discuss of this limud, we should do tshuva shleima. I'm sure everyone's feeling what my Rosh Shiva promised. Every daf adds Yiras Shamayim, especially as we learned by Yiras Shamayim, and all the Zohar that we learned should help look Shchinta me'afra ubei nifkun min galusa v'rachamim v'chol ha'zeidim v'chol ha'rishayim v'chol ha'palestinayim meri yikaresu v'ysel Hashem amlucha. One more time. Mulefet Sapirim. If you want me to teach that book, send me a message. In addition to Reishis Chochma.